Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to essentially set up everything for production. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to create an AMI of our website. That's it over there. Now, the way you would do this is you would right-click on it, or go to select it first and then go to Actions. Then go to Instance State, stop the instance. And once it's stopped, then go to Instance, or go to Image and create image. Now, to save a bit of time, I've already created an image and you can see it over there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a load balancer. Now, to do this, there's a couple of things that we need to know. First things we need to know is go to RDS instance, and if we take a look at our settings, we can see that it is in that VPC, and we also want to know its private IPs. There's essentially details here that we're going to know. So to make things a little bit easier for us, what we're actually going to do is we're going to load up our load balancers into a new tab. All right. Okay, there we go. So you can see our instances there and our load balancers here we have now. So we're going to click on create load balancer. And we're going to call it website. All right. Now, the VPC, we've got two here. And if we take a look at our instance, you can see that the VPC ID ends in 843. So we're looking at that one. There we go there, VPC 843. All right, now this is not an internal load balance, an external one. We're also going to add HTTPS. The reason why we're doing this is simply because it's a Drupal website and you may or may not need login, but essentially add ports as you need them. Then we want to select our subnets. Now we're going to need two, and we're going to need two public-facing subnets, which is that one. And you can see there's another public one, that one. All right, so now we have two subnets. We're going to click next to assign security groups, and we're going to select our RDS one. Oh, my apologies, we're going to select the website one. We know it's the right one because our instance has the same one as well. All right, and then we're going to go next to configure security settings. All right, so we're going to choose an existing one. We have there my server. Pretty much everything here can be left as is. The health check, this we do need to change. We need to change that to PHP. Essentially what it's doing here is it's just doing a check to see if that file exists, effectively via ping, and our index is index.php, not HTML. So we're going to click next to add instances, and we want that one. All right, so we've now added our RDS. We're going to put tags. Right? We don't need to add new tag. In this case, we only have one, but in case you do, website, we'll just put name, key is name, and its value is website. All right, so essentially what we're saying here is the key is name, its value is website. Think of that as being a lot like, I suppose the best way I can call it, describe it would be if you had a passport, for example, and there would be name and age, ID, etc. That's effectively what your keys are. The values would be according. All right, so we go now to review everything, and everything here looks fine. So we'll then click on create, and everything's been created, and we click on close, and there we can see it there. The next thing we want to do is we want to add an auto-scaling group. So if we go to auto-scaling groups, we see it here. We don't have any, so we're going to create an auto-scaling group. All right, so we want to create a new launch configuration. Right, that's the one we've got. So we're going to click on next step. All right, and we're going to go to my AMIs, and we're going to select that one. That's the one that we created. All right, now you're going to select your instance type. For this case, we're just going to keep it as name. We'll call this website. Purchasing up, we don't need here. Go to advanced details. Everything here looks fine, so we can leave that. All right, add storage, again, we can leave that as perfectly fine. We don't need to change anything there. So we're going to click next for security groups. We're going to select the security group. The one we want is website. This is a security group that's going to go onto the instance itself. So we're going to then move forward. We're going to review that. And everything there looks okay. I'm going to expand that. It's always a good idea to essentially review these And that all looks good. Check and make sure. Yeah, that's fine. So we're going to click next to go to launch configuration. This is essentially we're selecting our key pair. We're going to keep that as website. We're going to click on create launch configuration. All right, now we've got the group name. We'll leave that as website. It's the same. Group size start with one instance, which is perfectly fine. We're going to put it back into the same VPC that we had for our subnet. An IP address, we don't need a public IP address assigned because everything's going behind the load balancer, so that's perfectly fine. Subnets, okay, so then we want to put it in RDS. We're going to add another one of a public subnet. There we go there, that's perfectly fine. If we expand advanced details, load balancing, receive traffic from an Elastic Load Balancer, yes we do, and website. There we go. So what this essentially does is it receives traffic from the load balancer. It puts it into the same two subnets that the load balancer is load balancing within that same VPC, and it does a health check on EC2. Okay, everything there looks fine. So if we click next for scaling properties, keep this group at its initial size or use scaling policies to adjust. We're going to create a scaling policy. It's always good to do. Increase group size. Now, I have several alarms here, but to show you what you would do if you didn't, if you essentially click on add new alarm, all right, we don't need to send a notification when the average CPU utilization is greater than, say, 70%. There we go. For at least 5 minutes, right? It will essentially, we're going to create a new alarm there. What that does is, all that says is essentially alarm when CPU utilization is greater than 70%. And if I select it here, test high CPU utilization. There we go. That literally does the exact same thing. All right. Then we want to add one instance when essentially what you're essentially doing here is the same thing. All right, you're adding one instance when half of your instances there are have a greater CPU utilization. And we need to get rid of that somehow. There we go. All right. Then decrease the group size. All right. The same thing if we were to add a new alarm, you would just click on less than or equal to 50%. All right. Again, I don't need to do this because I've already created an alarm. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and create a new alarm. So lower than or equal to. In fact, you know what? I'm actually gonna create a new alarm for everything. So what I'm actually gonna do to show you what all this means is, if I go to, I believe it's launch configurations. No, there's nothing there. Listen, it doesn't matter. What I'll do is I'll create a new alarm from scratch just to show you guys what I mean. So we unselect that. Average CPU utilization is greater than 50%. I will call this website increase. Try to keep spaces out of this. All right, so this says when your average CPU utilization is greater than 50% for at least one consecutive period of 5 minutes, alarm. So we're going to create an alarm there, and we're going to increase it by one instance. All right, that's all good. Okay, and all right, and then here we're going to decrease. We're going to create a new alarm. Again, we don't need that. Average CPU utilization is less than 50%. This is essentially the same thing, and we'll call this website decrease. There we go. Create an alarm. Right, then we're going to remove one instance. Okay. All right, so then we're going to next configure auto scaling group. Do we want to add notification? No, we don't need to add notification. All right, so we're going to go to configure tags, and we'll call this website again, or should I say name and website. And then we're going to review everything. Everything here looks fine. So we're going to create our auto scaling group, and that's busy creating. And then we're going to click on close. And there you can see it there. And if we expand this up, we can see there that it's part of that load balancer. And we've got our instances. We should be able to see our instance there. We can actually see another auto scaling, another instance being set up already. So this will automatically have two instances, or essentially one instance there already. It's now part of the auto scaling group. But once that spins up, you can then essentially terminate that one. All right, but the next step, the last step we need to do is we now need to add our website, because, and the reason why we want to do this is if we go to our load balancer, right now, when you go to this load balancer here and you put that in, let's just wait for our last instance to start up. Let's go have a look. All right. That's busy initializing, so we're just going to refresh that and essentially wait for everything to integrate. Give it another go. Okay, let's see if this works. It may or may not work. Essentially, this bit here, initializing, has been initialized in. It's going to be bouncing between those two. So what we'll do is if we go there and we press enter, brings us to our website. Okay, well, this is all very well and good, but you don't want that as part of your auto scale, as part of, as essentially your URL. So what we do is we go to services, we'll go to Route 53. If you don't have it here, simply go down to networking and you can see Route 53 there. All right, so ordinarily, if you don't have it, you would need to create a new hosted zone. I'm not going to walk you through that. There's plenty of tutorials on how to do that, but essentially you take NS records from your host provider and what have you. That's a whole tutorial in and of itself. For the moment, I'm just going to go there. I'm going to create a new record set. All right, now you want to keep this ironically as an IPv4 address, even though it's not natural IPv4 address, and you're going to say yes to alias. Then when you go to your load balancers, and you can see there, you want to take that and you want to put it into there. Right. In fact, you can actually see a load balancer there. All right. What we'll do is we'll just make sure we got the right one. So we paste that in there. Okay, if we actually take that out. Balances. I believe that's the right one. Let's just make sure. So we can see this at 2244. And there, yep, that's the right one there. Okay, so now we have our website there, and we're going to call this web site. All right, this is good because it essentially doesn't cost you anything. All right, you could change this to a CNAME record and what have you, and it might, or should I say PTR record, a pointer, but you'll pay for every hit. You don't want to do that. So if you just change it to an alias, click and create, and you can see it over there. All right, so happy days. And now when we go to website dot aidanwest.com and we hit enter, we get our Hello World site. There we go. All right, so it's very, very simple. Then the more hits this gets, will scale up and down accordingly. And that is essentially how you would set up your website. Now, in the next tutorial, I'm going to start going through other services and other ways of doing things on chats and have you. So join me the next time, and I will walk you through more ways to set up and create essentially scalable infrastructure on the cloud. I hope to see you soon.